Hi everyone, I'm going today to talk about RXJS Observables and what are basic things it provides to you. When I wanted to learn RxJS, I went through their documentation and it was so hard to understand their functions through these drawings and examples. So I thought about a new way to explain it to everybody. I'm not going to talk about codes and syntaxes, I will only talk about functionalities. And you can search about the syntax of each function I will cover. So let's get started. This is me, and my job is to provide reports about the robots that my company manufactures. Here, I was asked to calculate the average time that the robot needs to pass through this hole. In this video, consider me as the app engine, and robots are the functions you write. I have the code that controls the robot to start and stop. So robot starts walking, I monitor it, and when it reaches the end, I click stop. See the current timestamp and compare it with the start time, and I need to repeat it many times in order to calculate the average. The problem is, when I'm monitoring the robot, I am blocked from doing any other task, and I need to give it all my focus. This is called synchronized task, where it blocks your code from doing parallel jobs, so the whole app stops responding till the current task is done. So I wrote a code to give the order to my robot to start. And when the sensor knows what robot is stepping on the hole, the code will run, and when the sensor triggers the signal, the code notifies me with the current timestamp. And during this process I can be watching a YouTube video or do any other task I have. This concept is called asynchronous tasks, where your code can do parallel things at the same time while you have listeners to be triggered when each task is done. In JavaScript, you can do asynchronous tasks using function callbacks, async await functions, promises, or using RxJS Observables. In simple single async task, you can use any of these methods, but when it complicates, I see that RxJS is your best choice. Here, the sensor only tells me about the time when robot reached it. But I need to calculate the time spent, and it's annoying that each time I need to see that start time and end time, then do it manually. So I used RxJS map before the observable emits its value. The map function will change the output to the format I defined. So now instead of telling me the current timestamp, it shows me the total time the robot spent. In other words, RxJS map changed the observable value to predefined format before emitting it. Another problem I need to solve is calculating the average. Instead of repeating the process manually multiple times, I brought 3 robots, created observable for each one, and use observable concat to combine them into one final observable. And when I trigger it, it runs them after each other, takes the time spent from each one, sums them, and when all are done, calculates the average and give it to me. So observables concat will combine list of observables into one task. It emits value of each one and notifies you when all observable values are emitted. Then I said why I need them to wait each other. There is no reason for that. So I replaced concat with merge, where it does the same job without caring about the sequence of my observables. All of them starts at the same time, and the one finishes first emits its value. So you use merge when combining list of observables without caring about their sequence, while concat forces them to run in sequence. After a success I had with observables, my boss wanted to make it harder on me. He asked for a complicated scenario. The red sensor will open this blocking door, and it can only be triggered by the red robot within 5 seconds, while the last sensor can only be triggered by white robot. So we need the red robot to start first, reach the sensor, and if the time spent is less than 5 seconds, the white robot will walk to the white sensor. If red robot didn't reach within 5 seconds, the door will remain closed and there is no use of starting the white robot. Instead, we have to return an error. So, what we have here is a white observable depends on the value emitted from the red observable. So I used merge map, where it makes sure that the red is totally done, it gives the value, and here if the value is less than 5, I return the white observable so it starts. Otherwise, I throw an error. This is very common use case you will face when you have dependent database queries, for example. Like query 2 should only run if query 1 succeeds, and everything should be async. So, RxJS merge map is your right choice for this, where you have dependent async tasks. These are basic functions you need to understand to start working on RXJS Observables. I think now you can have easier understanding for the official documentation. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want me to do more video tutorials like this, please leave a comment.